Hello student, today we will study the regional aspiration in India. In this unit we will study the rise of regionalism in 1980s and the demand outside the union framework started and how it's led to sometime an armed assertion and political collapse also. So a lot of accord and dialogues were started between the regional states or regional parties and the central government for a continuous settlement. So we will explore a lot of issue like northeastern issue, Kashmir issue or Punjab issue. So all these things we will deal in this class. Now let's start with the topic. So regional and national are complex relation. So India with a multicultural diversity, there is a lot of regional identity and that led to the center state turmoil sometime also. So what is a regional issue? This regional issue was started in 1980s because a lot of regional consciousness was growing in 1980s. Even before that also some of the states autonomous demand was started like first state formation Andhra Pradesh was formulated on the language basis was also one of the example of regionalism, but these demands later on converted into more agitation. Some of the issues in Punjab, Tamil Nadu states, Gujarat, and now this northeast state was also started. So these led to the clashes between the regional and nation interests. But India somehow tried to manage between the regional identity and the center also. So, what is national unity? We always try to create and maintain a nation unity, or and we although we are also try to include these and maintaining these state separate identity at the same time. So, as an India approach, what is India approach? India try to create a balance in unity and diversity, and for that matter India adopted a democratic approach like regional identity and aspiration and regional issues tried to be solved, and some of the regional party emergence in the election was also example of this in that India tried to create a balance between the region and the center. So these all things were started. Now let's come to the next slide, rising regional identity and autonomic movement. So as the regional consciousness was started in state like Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, so and Punjab also. So there is a lot of specific state demand or autonomy demand were started at that time. Kashmir issue was also one of the example of it. Some of the state like even Punjab wanted a separate state for Punjabi only, and they also demand for separation from the Hindu population. So these all things were growing at that time, and it's led to a somehow we can say it's led to the challenge to nation unity also, because rise of this movement, if every state started demanding for their own state or their own autonomous state, so it's really create a danger for nation unity also. So we had to create a balance, we had to take care of this regional aspiration also, and also at the same time we need to sovereign nation identity also we had to safeguard. So these both things we need to create a balance, and it's led to a evolution of regionalism because later on a lot of law was formulated to satisfy these states demand. So it's led to the evolution of regionalism also with at the time changing. So there's a lot of new issue was started emerging, a lot of things center government tried to solve also with giving some sort of autonomy in case of northeast state, that some of the autonomous tribal groups were formulated, a statehood demand were granted in for example of Nagaland. So these things led to the evolution of regionalism at that time also. So this is all the in this part what is the regional identity and how it's led to the autonomy movement. Now let's come to the next slide. And the first regional issue is Jammu Kashmir. Jammu Kashmir issue was very frequent. You all know it's very popular that how Kashmir called as a crown of the country. A lot of issue was started for Jammu Kashmir, and it's not started later on. Even with the partition in 1947 itself, a lot of issue was started in Kashmir, And even for merger, Jammu Kashmir merger in India was not very smooth and easy, and that also reflected in today's Jammu Kashmir issue. Jammu Kashmir merger in India was not smooth at the time. What is its historical context and how it's evolved later on? First, we need to understand this. Jammu Kashmir was a princely state, and the issue of Kashmir was rooted in partition in 1947, because the ruler of Jammu Kashmir, Hari Singh, was a Hindu ruler, but he did not wanted to merge into India. He wanted to go to Pakistan. He wanted to be remain independence. This was the first thing that started there. But later on, from Pakistan side, when Sheikh Abdullah of Nation Congress wanted to get rid of Maharaj, he wanted to include Kashmir into Pakistan, and started saying that Kashmir belongs to Pakistan. So this leads to the a lot of tribal infiltration into the area in October 1947. So these tribal infiltration creating a danger for Maharaj, and Maharaj asked for the military help, but the central government forced him firstly to sign instrument of accession with the government of India. So he signed this agreement with government of India, and later on, when Indian army tried to expel this in tribal invasion, but somehow they occupied some of the important area of Kashmir, and this area is called Azad Kashmir or Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So it's one of the region is called Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Still a remain issue between India and Pakistan that is still not solved. So that's how came. India got Kashmir, but still a lot of issue between India and Pakistan over the Kashmir not solved till yet, and this led to the demand of plebiscite कि this unsolved area or Pakistan occupied Kashmir or Azad Kashmir going to be decided through the plebiscite, that people will vote where they wanted to remain, either they want to be in India or Pakistan. But there's a lot of demographic change was started at that time, because some of the Hindus were expelled from this place, so there was no point to solve through the plebiscite. So it's also one of the issue that we are not able to solve the Kashmir issue till today. So that's how this complex issue was started, and even today it was, we can say it's one of the failure of UN that it's not solved till yet. An article of 370, you all know that now article 370 was abolished, but this article 370 granted some of the autonomy to the state, because when Hari Singh was signed agreement with India, so he was assured that there is a lot of regional identity government of India will grant to Jammu Kashmir. It will give it given some of the special status to the Jammu Kashmir autonomy, that it had own flag, and any center law will not going to directly implement in the state without the state permission. So this is all that written in article 370. But now Kashmir became a union territory with the abolition of this article 370. So this is how a complex issue of Jammu Kashmir started. Now let's come to the next slide. I hope you understood all these things. Now let's do this insurgency and separatism in Kashmir. So what is these things, and what are the root of insurgency? So first thing is the Sheikh Abdullah government was formed in Kashmir, and a lot of reform was also started. He started a lot of reform there, but later on some of the differences between the center and state, between Sheikh Abdullah and state government and the center government was started, and that led to Sheikh Abdullah house arrest in 1953. So during this period, when Sheikh Abdullah was in a house arrest, there was no state government, and during that period Congress party was ruling, and later on finally in 1974 Indira Gandhi had an agreement with Sheikh Abdullah, and he became the chief minister of state, and he also revived the National Conference Party that belonged to Sheikh Abdullah. And later in the election of 1977, when Sheikh Abdullah died in 1982, this leadership of Sheikh Abdullah went to his son Farooq Abdullah as a chief minister. So Farooq Abdullah became the chief minister. Later also there was some of the issues started, and he was dismissed by the center government. Later on in 1987 election, there was a lot of election was happening in a series, and a lot of turmoil created with these things. Later on in 1987 election, National Conference again gained a victory, and Farooq Abdullah again returned as a chief minister. But with this 1987 election, a grip of militancy was started in the region. This led to the root of insurgency in that area. So even in a same assembly election that held in 1996, later on a lot of regional autonomy demand was started. They wanted to a separatism was started, and they wanted more autonomy. These demands were started and created a turmoil between center and state, and the relation between the center and state was also affected with these autonomous demands. Later in 2002 election when happened, the national conference was replaced, and now it's not able to secure majority in seat, and replaced by the PDP party. What is PDP means? People Democratic Party, and a Congress coalition formed a government in Kashmir this time. So this is how political changes happen in Kashmir, and these parties during 1980s, or we can say 1987 election. After that, a lot of separatist movement is started. So these separatist movement affected a lot of things. A lot of even this period after that 1987 election, these Hindu Pandit were replaced from their origin place. So this militant activity was so high that the demography of Kashmir was totally replaced. That once a period of once when there was a Hindu Muslim living together, but now these things were happen, and Kashmiri Pandit, some of them were brutally killed. Some of the movies were also framed on this issue, and some of the question, even though people questioned the whole scenario, but there was these things. And because Kashmir granted special state status, Article 370 was there, and Article 335A. So these are the things that autonomy was granted. So this also led to somehow these movement, because these autonomy where the center government cannot hold or cannot force any law with their free will. So these things also, we can assure that these things also led to this separatist movement. But now to some extent we created and we kept peace in Kashmir. So these all turmoil and these all insurgency or separatist movement affected a lot of Kashmir people or Kashmir politics. So this also led to the lot of internal security issue or external also, because Pakistan was trying to separate Kashmir from India. So that's how these things were started, and it's ended with the Kashmir integration into the union and become a union territory. So this is all in the Kashmir issue. Mainly you had to learn from which party Sheikh Abdullah election won in which year, and when Farooq Abdullah became chief minister. Maybe the year asked in the question. So mostly, and from which party he belongs to, later on which party came into power, like in 2002 election PDP government formed. So these things you need to take care. I hope you understood. Now let's come to the next slide. The Dravidian movement. This is also one of the regional issues, led to the regional issues later on. The Dravidian movement was first started as self-respect movement here, EV, and led by the E.V. Ramaswamy, because he was against the Brahman dominance, and he started the anti-Brahman movement, and that also led to the self-respect movement. So this created a DK party, and that's DK party later on transformed into DMK. And this DMK party came into the politics with a prolonged agitation and started a lot of state specific demand, and these Dravidian movements demand a lot of regional aspiration was also in it. So this led to later on it came into the power in 1967 election. So their demand was mostly on the regional issues. So this is also one of the regional identity issue started in Dravidian movement. mostly what you had to learn in this slide, you need to learn that from what the movement started by em ramaswamy naikar, what is time period, what is the cause of his movement, and later on what is the party that dmk parties came into the power from this ideology, and its won election in 1967. So this is all in this slide. Now let's come to the next one, that punjab issue and Punjab turmoil, a period of turmoil in Punjab in 1980s. So another regional issue was started in Punjab, and with the Akali Dal started demanding for autonomy in Kashmir. It's also one of the issue that's led to the Khalistan demand. So what is that? That Punjabi people wanted a separate state or a separate independent formation where only Sikh people belong. And Akali Dal, one of the party that formed in 1920, called for a Punjab Suba. Later on, this Akali Dal party came into power in 1961. And later on, when Anandpur Sahib in 1973, they declared a conference that also called independent conference that they are talking about. So a lot of militant activity was started at the time because they created headquarter in golden temple, and that golden temple turned into an armed fortress. So this created one of the security issue also for central government. Bhinderwala was one of the very famous names came out of this Punjab movement. So for that matter, when they started, even issue was started that these people collecting arms in the uh, Golden Temple. So these separatist movement when started, so center government started blue operation with in during the Indira Gandhi period in 1984. So that blue star movement that started during in 1984, it's led to the later it's led to the Gandhi assassination also, because during this period Indian army went inside the Golden Temple and a lot of destruction happened. Even Akal Takht was also destroyed to some extent. There was a lot of firing and other things happened during that time. So it's also threatened, or it's also damaged the faith and unsatisfaction of the Sikh majority towards the Indira Gandhi, because they totally believe that Indira Gandhi is one of the reason because she given the order and she initiated this Operation Blue Star. So this led to later on a lot of riot was started, because later on one of the guard of Indira Gandhi who was Sikh, who killed Indira Gandhi in 1984. With the killing of Indira Gandhi, a lot of anti-Sikh riots were also started. Some of the area of Delhi, Kanpur, Lucknow. So a lot of these belt region were affected with this, because Sikhs were killed, their shops were taken into fire. So a lot of Sikh economy was affected with the 1984 riot. Later on, it's created a very sour relation between center and state. And Punjab people regional demand will also get formed in their mind, and they created an unsatisfaction and biasness towards their own issue. So later on, things were not in a cycle of violence that was started, and even though government not tried to stop these issues, even some of the blame that government can do something for the for the safety of Sikh people, but because of the Indira Gandhi assassination, they not try to stop these riots against the Sikh later on. But these things not change for a long period of time. But later on, when Rajiv Gandhi became prime minister, so he tried to create an initiate dialogue in 1984 itself. Later on, with the some one of the prominent name came out, Harish Chand Singh, Punjab Akali leader. So he tried to create a dialogue with him, and it's also called Pakistan Accord also. So you need to remember that Pakistan Accord, between which two people were happened at the time, and later on things started changing, and in 1990s a peace was established between in the Punjab region, and later on an alliance of Bharati Janata Party and Akali Dal formed a major victory in 1991 election. So this is how, in 1997 election. So this is how things were started changing. But even today, or we can say in minds of six people, still the issue of blue star in their mind, and it's also one of the regional issue that remains and in foreign countries they used to flag on Khalistan, or they, in Canada this turmoil was still present where Sikh people in majority. So this is all in the Punjab topic. I hope you understood. And the next thing is Northeast state and Northeast insurgency in 1980s, a struggle of autonomy. So what's happened there? Northeast state, there are seven states, also called the Seven Sisters. It's a 4% country territorial area, and later on a lot of demand for autonomy was started. And because these states have different ethnicity, and northeast was also so segregated in early time period, most of the politics remained to the Gangetic plain or northern plain also. So a lot of the separatist movement was also started with that, because there was no welfare and there was no space. Center government special attention was given to these states. So first demand of Nagaland, that Nagaland started demanding for the separate state, and Zafu Fizo was one of the very prominent leader in that. He wanted a separate state, Nagaland. So his demand was was accepted later on, and 19 and later on Nagaland was formed. A separate statehood was granted to Nagaland in 1963. And later on a lot of states like Manipur, Meghalaya, Tripura, these also started agitating for separate statehood demand. So their demand in 1972. Later on Mizoram and Arunachal Pradesh separatist movement was also started. So they not granted much of that, but they granted a separate statehood demand in 1987. So these northeast state was also came into the Northeast Frontier Agency, but later on a lot of separate states were created out of it, and later on a separate state identity were created. And a lot of issue was also, and even the demand of autonomy was not wrong to some extent, because a lot of tribal identity was there. So the and some of the ethnic like tribals, Kharbi, so these people granted autonomous district council also, and autonomous council. So this led to an effective administration of these region, because only the regional people were able to understand what are these regional demand, and what are the regional issues, what are the regional problems people were dealing with. So these also led to the some sort of strong relation with the center government. So this is how this northeast autonomous issue was solved with this. And one of the reason for these grants, that China was very China tried to affect this region and try to include some of the region like Arunachal Pradesh, a very important region that China tried to include in its. So it's also led to an unsatisfaction that government need to firstly address the people issue of Arunachal Pradesh. So this is also one of the reason and one of the factor for autonomy was granted to Northeast. And later on these autonomy grants was very crucial, and it's trying to create, and it's also led some of the trying to create some of the good relation with these state, Northeast state. So these Northeast states faced a lot of issue. There's a lot of things that started in Northeast state. The secessionist movement, I already told you that how the state demand was started. So in Northeast there is one issue of tribal conflicts, or sorry, ethnic conflict. There's a lot of ethnic conflict between the tribes also, also. And the next issue was issue of illegal migration. So a lot of when Bangladesh was formed, so a lot of Bangladeshis were came to the India, and Rohingya Muslim was one of the issue of northeast. So these illegal migrants affecting the northeast economy and affecting the employment amongst the northeast people. So this also led an agitation against this, and some of the fronts were formed, like Mizo National Front was started, and a lot of one of the very prominent name AASU was formed for against this secessionist movement. So central government always try to secure its border, and a lot of insurgency leads to the a lot of criminal activities also, like drugs dealing through this arms dealing, and these things was also started in this region. So government tried to create, or what government tried to create, and even Rajiv Gandhi came in accord with the ASU group. That's led to the later on that leads to the formation of Mizoram. Was some of the very prominent leader of that northeast state is Ladang, one of the man, and the another is Angami Zapu Fizo. So these are the prominent personality in northeast state movement. So these people are also shaping the politics of northeast state, because these states mostly wanted their own autonomy, their own laws for the smooth functioning of the administration in these states. So this is all in this northeast state. And outsider issue, I already told you how illegal Bengali Muslim or Bangladeshi people were started coming, and also all India student union agitation against this illegal migrant were started. So you had to learn what is the full form of ASU. Earlier also this question was asked, and when it's formed in 1979. That, and on which issue ASU was dealing with, it's about illegal migrant. So these are the issues that started where and leads to the change in Assam politics, or we can say northeast movement. And one of the regional party that got Assam Ghana Parishad called Golden Assam was also formed during that period. So this is things that was started at the time. Now let's come to the next, accommodation and national integration. How we did this? So the national accommodation was started with the a lot of law reforms and a lot of autonomous grant given to these people, and sixth schedule of tribal economy, that these people of tribal area safeguarding their rights and aspiration through the schedule will also. So this led to some sort of national integration where these people satisfied with the laws. So this is how we integrated these different area, and trying to satisfy the regional aspiration of these people also. And later on the Goa liberation. What is that? Goa was a Portuguese occupied area. Later on, Maharashtrawadi Gomantak party who wanted to integration into Maharashtra. He wanted to integrate Goa into the Maharashtra. But later on, a separate identity of also started. So later on, Goa became a separate state, and even today, a very famous place for visiting Goa. So this is all, and that's how we integrated and we tried to satisfy this regional aspiration. Even today, a lot of issue in the regional front we still face. Even Bundelkhand area where people demand or regional demand were still prevalent. Even Khalistan issue was there. Even Kashmir, there are a lot of say that the abolition of the 370 was law is a curtail of the Kashmiri rights. These issues still discussed and still prevalent in India's political scenario. And these two I attached here. These two important personality who played important role in Northeast politics. So you had to read all these things. Now let's come to the next slide. These MCQ based question. What is that? This question I have framed mostly on the PPT topic. Let What is the following movement for the formation of Punjabi Suba? So this is all the PYQs previous. Some of these are previous year question, or some of I added according to whatever I had teach you. So you had to try this MCQ on your part also. So this create so that you can understand where you are lacking. So this is all. There are total 13 MCQ I have framed. Even you can use NCRT book for your reference also. You can practice from there also more MCQ question. Even you can go for other online resources and try to, but although I tried to cover most of the topic and most of the question that had asked in earlier CVT exam. So I hope you are able to understand whatever I have taught you. So this is all from my side.